with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Janelle, who writes, Victoria Alonso, also coming out of the same interview, has confirmed, as expected, that Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye will premiere in 2021. Ms. Marvel started shooting a month earlier, so I expect that to drop first. With Book of Boba Fett in December, I'm sure they'll want to space them out each month. So Ms. Marvel trailer very soon, I expect. Thoughts on this? All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Janelle. And yeah, listen, we have been expecting for some time that the Ms. Marvel show and the Hawkeye show, both that were announced at D23, both kind of a surprise to me. That's also at the same time that they announced that they were doing a She-Hulk show, that they were doing Moon Knight, a lot of exciting announcements there. And they've always said 2021, but we are now, guys, we're more than halfway through 2021. We are like more than halfway through, and we don't have release dates. Like we don't have dates for these things. So it's understandable that a lot of people have started wondering, are these things actually coming out in 2021? Because forget trailers and everything, they haven't even set release dates for them. And some assumptions have started to be formed that they're probably at least one, maybe both, we're going to be pushed into 2022. Well, apparently that's not something you got to worry about. This comes to us from the folks over at Gizmodo who write, the news comes courtesy of Victoria Alonso, Executive Vice President of Film Production at Marvel Studios, who told Variety there were a few other shows releasing in 2021, including Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye. While exact release dates are still not given for either show, it appears they will follow August's What If and air around the upcoming Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, and Spider-Man No Way Home. So what has already been an incredibly packed year for Marvel will continue to be an incredibly packed year for Marvel. And yes, we are going to get Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel this year. That's now been confirmed. It's an interesting thing because first of all, the Ms. Marvel one, guys, is one that I was most excited about. Not the most excited about, one of the ones I was most excited about, because I remember when Ms. Marvel first came out and started bringing home the comics, and she just devoured the Ms. Marvel comics. She loved it. And, you know, we see Ms. Marvel's been getting more and more of a platform with the recent Avengers game. She was obviously one of the prime characters in the recent Avengers game. Of course, they cast a good Canadian kid to be Ms. Marvel in the show, so that's always a positive thing. With Hawkeye, you know me, I love Hawkeye and I love Black Widow in the MCU. I love their supporting roles. I have never really been interested in a Black Widow movie. I've never been interested in a solo Hawkeye series either. But I enjoyed Black Widow, and I'm sure I'll enjoy the Hawkeye thing. But anyway, it is interesting. It's good. Here's the good thing about them still being in 2021. 2022 is also packed, and I did not know how they were going to manage shoving that into 2022. And Janelle brings up a good point. We got the Book of Boba Fett in December, which means they ain't going to release either of these shows in December. These shows aren't going to be running in December, which means they do have to come out a little bit earlier. Greg, they've come out now and they've confirmed that 2021 is when we're going to get Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel. Mm-hmm. Are you looking forward to these shows? When do you suspect we may see them drop? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm looking forward to the shows. I personally have loved all the Marvel series. I think I'm a bigger fan than the both of you when it comes to like the overall. I know you guys are fans of them, but I personally was very much in love with all the series, and I am very much looking forward to both of these shows. Especially, like, I actually wasn't as keen on Black Widow. I didn't enjoy it as much, but the post-credit scene got me very excited for Hawkeye, and so weirdly, the part I'm most excited about with Hawkeye is with a completely different character that's going to be going into the show. I know this sort of ties into the headline topic of today's show. I do have a little bit of a concern with all them coming out. Like, I think it'll probably come out, before December time. But my biggest concern is that with WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Loki, one thing that I've loved about them, especially if you don't even like them or not, I think it's indisputable. They've been event television. It's been event TV. Every single time an episode comes out, it goes trending. It's a big discussion. It's a big part of all the topics of many a YouTuber, right? And I'm a little bit nervous that I don't think that the quality of the shows will be bad necessarily. I don't think any of that's we have something to worry about. I'm worried that with you got these big movies coming out that are talking about the future, like how you guys were talking about with Black Widow yesterday. Rob was bringing up points about how people might not be super interested in Black Widow at the moment because it feels inconsequential towards the future of the MCU in a lot of people's eyes. And I don't think Miss Marvel and Hawkeye will have that effect, but I feel like what Loki ended with really has been a wonderful springboard for what movies like Eternals and Shang-Chi and Spider-Man are going to be opening up. And I'm just kind of I don't want the excitement and the conversation to dip when Miss Marvel and Hawkeye airs, because the movies are also coming out around the same time. Like, I don't want all the attention just to go solely to the movies, because it seems like it was kind of interesting how Loki was out. Everyone was still talking about it. Black Widow came out the weekend and people quickly stopped talking about it. And it'd be my main thing that I really want is that when both the shows are airing and the movies are out, that they both can be sharing close to equal time in the spotlight,
right,
and can keep the conversation alive. I don't want one to eclipse the other too much. That's really my only worry about all the shows and the movies coming out simultaneously in 1 year.
Rob, you've taken a look at this. It's been confirmed they're going to keep Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel. They are releasing. It has to be well before December. I mean, they can't have it overlapping with the Book of Boba Fett and in that. But we do have 3 other movies coming out. Some overlap's going to happen here. Are you surprised that they're keeping these projects in 2021? And where's your anticipation level right now for each of them?
Well, I have to say that, as a lifetime Marvel comic reader, one of the things about reading comics is, you'd get a great creator team, writer, artists working together, and they would do a run within a run. Like when Frank Miller came on with David Mazzucchelli and did like the Born Again storyline in Daredevil. He came back to Daredevil. I always liked Daredevil, but then sometimes you'd have a creator that came on and did some genius work within the regular run of a comic. So I'm always sort of used to the idea that sometimes you get genius level storytelling and then you get good storytelling, but maybe not as genius as you'd want. But it still is all about the tapestry of what it is that you enjoy. I enjoy the Marvel Universe. I've particularly enjoyed the Marvel Cinematic Universe over the last 12 years. And even when shows are, like, to me, WandaVision, Loki, and Falcon and Winter Soldier are so diverse in terms of the stories they're telling. Loki's so out there, and it pushes the boundaries. I mean, it evokes Terry Gilliam's Brazil. It evokes the Adjustment Bureau. Really crazy, insane sci-fi fantasy concepts that are so beyond, say, the first Iron Man. And yet it still exists within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I've really been enjoying it's like reading comic book miniseries. Sometimes they vary in quality, but they're still enjoyable to me. Like, I don't expect, like, WandaVision was pushing the bounds of what they'd done. I watched, just for fun, last night before I went to bed, I watched the first 25 minutes of Endgame, just randomly. So good. So I'm like, this is so good. Like as a science fiction fantasy film, I'm like, the whole opening with Hawkeye and his family, I'm like, what a ballsy, audacious gut punch of a way to open that movie. It was
such a great intro to that. Yeah. It was so good.
And then watching the rest of it, it's all character development. And you're watching these characters that you know and love dealing with this situation. Scott Lang finding his own name on the plaque in the shadow of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And I realized I am so invested in everything that they're doing. Like, a lot of people are complaining about Falcon and Winter Soldier being like woke or whatever. The Isaiah Bradley, Sam Wilson conversations in that film
were awesome.
To me, were awesome and so important. And they hark back to America, the last 100 years of America. And whether you want to look at it as being overbearing political messages, it wasn't. These are conversations people are having in this country all the time. And not just because we live in this new era of social awareness or whatever you want to call it. These are legit conversations that we're having within the context of a science fiction fantasy show, which is how Star Trek was great. Having these conversations. It's why Rod Serling's Twilight Zone was great. And now we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe pushing the boundaries of this kind of entertainment. So Miss Marvel, I find it really interesting. What happens when a woman who's from, say, a different culture, whose parents might be first-generation immigrants from a predominantly Muslim country, what happens when their daughter's a superhero? What happens? What kind of conversations do you have? I'm curious to see where they're going to go. And I want to see if one thing came out of Black Widow, it's that I love Yelena. I love Florence Pugh. She is one of the greatest additions to the Marvel Cinematic Universe since Iron Man himself. And I cannot wait to watch Hawkeye explain what happened to Natasha. Let me explain. See, we're on the planet Vormir, and we're in front of the ghost of the Red Skull, who was the guardian of the Soul Stone. And one of us had to I tried. Can you imagine what she's going to say in response to this? I want to see that scene. I didn't even know how excited I was until I saw the post-credit sequence of Black Widow, because I'm like, how is Hawkeye going to explain what happened to Natasha to Yelena? Because that isn't going to go well. Not going to go well.
That's the first thing that made me go, okay, now I want to see the Hawkeye series. Like, it was that post-credit scene that made me feel that way. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? I mean, a lot of you guys were starting to wonder whether these things were going to come out in 2021. It's now official. How do you feel about that? Are you looking forward to these shows? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.
I don't think neither Rob or myself answered when we think this will come out.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. Well, we got to move on now. We got to move on.